We welcome you into the 7th episode of Talking Blizz with Joey Bonadonna. This week we welcome in quarterback number 7, Max Meylor. Max, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Joey.
Absolutely, and obviously coming off of a big win against San Diego, 61-50 was the final score, but it was a little bit of an interesting getting into the game for you. Obviously, you've been serving as the backup quarterback for most of this season, but with Jerome going down at some point there in the first half, you came in and led the team to victory, going 12 for 16, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had the rushing touchdown in there as well, 10 carries for 15 yards and a touchdown. But overall, how do you think this last week went for you guys? And obviously it was a big win to get you guys back to a game below 500.
Yep, it's a must win. We got ourselves in a little hole the first start of the season, but we just got to keep climbing back. And we knew San Diego had a very nice offense, and I think the second half they scored every drive, and so did we. So we knew we had to score to keep us to win that game. So, yeah, it was a great win, and looking forward to this next week.
And as we'll dive into more the game last week and the game ahead. Obviously, going to be another big one coming up against Iowa, but you're kind of the local guy on the team. You're the only guy on the team this year from the state of Wisconsin. You're from Mount Horeb, played at UW-Whitewater for your football career, but obviously you had an interesting transition between sports. You're a dual sport athlete coming out of Mount Horeb. Talk about your experience in playing both basketball and football, and kind of explain that story and how that worked in your recruiting process.
Yeah, so out of high school, I had the opportunity to play football and basketball at Lindenwood University down in St. Charles, Missouri, and I decided to pursue that. And it wasn't easy. Season was basically August to March, so it was a lot of work. But I made some great friends, and one thing that I learned the most is just to compete every day. I mean, I wasn't the biggest guy on the basketball court playing D2. I was an undersized guy, but I played with heart, and I competed, and that's helped me with my football career. So not everything is easy. You got to work for it, got to compete, and if you keep your head right, things can go your way.
And going back to Mount Horeb, you won a state championship in basketball with Mount Horeb, and I remember when you first signed. I was looking into that, and you beat West Appear in the state championship, and that is our equipment manager Sam Elkanovich's alma mater as well. So it kind of walked through how your high school career went as well. Obviously had success in both sports, and obviously that transpired into playing at Lindenwood. But how did could you advocate for being a dual sport athlete, and how that worked for you in high school?
Yeah, so I just grew up playing football, basketball, baseball. Decided to drop baseball and just focus on football and basketball. And, we had a good group of guys. Football, my 3 years that I started, we made the quarterfinals all 3 years. Won one Badger North Conference championship. And then basketball, we were very good. Sophomore year, I think we went 25-1. Next year, we won state. And then my senior year, we were pretty good, but not as good. But, it's sports, they all correlate with each other. I mean, it's a different game, of course, but, it's a team sport. You got to know your guys, got to love your guys. And like I said earlier, just, competing day in, day out will make you a better team down the road.
And jumping back forward, your time at Lindenwood wraps up there, and then you transferred to UW-Whitewater. And obviously for people who are from the state of Wisconsin, they know that UW-Whitewater brings Honestly, at this point, the WEAC currently, it seems like one of the most competitive D3 conferences in the entire country. But UW-Whitewater obviously brings that championship pedigree year in and year out. And you guys went to a D3 national championship in your time there. Talk about that transition to going to play football at Whitewater and that experience and what you learned at UWW.
Yeah, so when I transferred from Lindenwood, I just knew I wasn't going to make it in my basketball professional career, so I focused on football. And, I had an opportunity to play. I talked to Oshkosh, Platteville, Whitewater, lacrosse, a couple D2s in Minnesota, but I knew when I visited Whitewater it was the right decision, and it was one of my best decisions too. So my junior year we went to the national championship. Sadly we lost, but it's pretty cool playing on ESPN on the national championship. And then senior year we were very good too. We made it to the semifinals. But yeah, I'm very, very happy I chose Whitewater, and it's premier top Division III football, and I would say even small schools. I know we could compete with some D2 schools and NAIA. So, yeah.
And going back to that WEAC thing, I think you see. I think lacrosse just beat a D2 team last year. Obviously, and I think you also see in the state guys that don't necessarily get Wisconsin or they can still play at a high level, and I think that's why you see the WEAC succeed year in and year out in getting that high quality talent. But transitioning now to the professional ranks, you just joined the Blizzard this year. Coming in, it was you and Jerome, the quarterbacks. First off, how was the transition to the professional game, and also just outdoor to indoor? That's always the biggest switch.
Yeah, it is still an adjustment, I would say. The field is just so small, everything happens very fast, and you have to be right in the head. You gotta know your reads pre-snap, post-snap. You have to have the feel of the offense, and your decision-making has to be on point, and that's there's not many mistakes you can make. If you do make mistakes, that's when you see your interceptions. But as the year goes on, I've gotten a lot better, and it's more of just being comfortable too. So the first couple weeks, it's a new game. It's football, but it's just in a different arena basically. So just day by day I'm getting better, and I know the team's getting better too.
And jumping into this past week, obviously Jerome has had his success this year, being the starter. At one point led the league in all-purpose yards, but he goes down in that first half, and it was at a point where you guys were up. I think you guys had been up by 3 scores at that point already, but coming into that point, obviously they'd already earlier in the year you two switched at halftime of the Frisco game. But coming into this game, what was that mentality for you coming in, trying to establish things? And obviously, the offense, put up 60 points. I think that's probably the most I've seen put up by a Blizzard team in the last few years. But what was that transition like from being on the bench to being put into action? And you obviously found success there towards the end of that game.
Yeah, and one thing I think I put my mind to is just make practice like a game, because I don't get game reps for most of this year. So when I came into practice, I just made sure my mind was right, that we're playing a professional football team right now at practice, and we are. So I just I stayed mentally locked in Tuesday, Wednesday, just throughout the week. When I got out there, it just it felt just like practice. It's, of course, I'm getting hit now and all that, which is fun. But just staying locked in and just staying ready, because you never know when you're going to get that chance.
And obviously, Getting that chance, you succeeded well. The offense didn't skip a beat. 12 for 16, 75% completion percentage obviously is nothing to scoff at there. But going forward, obviously, it's an interesting situation with you and Jerome. How long Jerome will be out, we don't know. But, going forward, how do you carry yourself, obviously going into this game against Iowa? How do you keep that momentum going in playing a team like this that obviously just put up 73 points against Massachusetts? How do you go stride for stride with them going into this week?
Yeah, we've already played them, and we took care of them the first game, but we know it's a different team. They took it to Massachusetts, who we just lost to, so they have the firepower to win. They got a good defense, and it's a rivalry game, right? I mean, Blizzard, Iowa, that should be a rivalry, and I think it is. So it's going to be a tight game, but when we're going to win the game by this week's practice. If we practice well, I think we have a good chance. If we, are not doing too well, Saturday could go either way. So I think this week we just have to focus on practice and, just staying locked in. Like I've said before, this league it's wild. A one-possession game is not a one-possession game, so just stay locked in and stay ready, and just we're all here to, get back to 500.
And obviously this home stretch, it was a big one. The game against Massachusetts, I'm sure. It was a tough one, no doubt about it. But still having the opportunity to go 2-1 on this stretch and get back to 500 is obviously a big part of how you get back into this playoff race. And in taking care of Iowa, who, they might find themselves back in this race soon. Obviously, they're in a hole, but being able to take the season series and the tiebreaker against them would be huge. What's the emphasis, and you kind of just touched on it as well, but what's the emphasis on Iowa? And they are a different team. They've added some more on offense, but what's the emphasis with them this week in that matchup?
Yeah, I believe they have some new defensive scheme. But they do have a really good linebacker. He flies around. Some two good corners. They're ball hawks. So I know defensively they're going to be ready to play. Offense, they're also very good. I mean, 70-some points. That doesn't just happen. So it's going to be a great game. I'm really excited to get out there Saturday night at the Resch.
Absolutely. The 20th anniversary celebration with these two, the 20th anniversary of the Blizzard season. Obviously, this is the 20th year, but I just found out yesterday that their new defensive coordinator over at Iowa played for the Blizzard for that first 03 team, and they're recognizing the 03 team I believe at halftime. So that'll be an interesting little bit of a transition there for him. But I think we've also seen this Green Bay and Iowa over the last couple of years. It obviously is a rivalry, not only geographically, but you see a lot of guys from former Green Bay teams going over there. Coach Mogensen is the head coach over there, former offensive coordinator, Keyshawn Taylor, among others that are over there from previous years. Does that play a factor for you at all, knowing that, obviously you're a new guy to the team, but seeing old guys over on that side, and maybe not necessarily you, but for guys that have been around, and I think we've also seen it in the last couple of weeks where there have been former players on San Diego, Massachusetts, and Sioux Falls. What does that mean for you guys, going up against those guys?
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I think it's more of just it's more fun, because you got that chip on your shoulder, and they do too. Like they want to prove something. But yeah, I haven't been in the league long enough, but I know guys on the team like Shaq would be talking with former Blizzard players on different teams, and that's pretty fun to listen to. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see and watch.
Yeah, I for sure with Jaws a few weeks ago, kicker for Sioux Falls. Watching Shaq pregame was certainly, he has his antics, but and then Mamadou with Massachusetts, but yeah, really should be an interesting one against Iowa, and an opportunity to get back to 500 going on to this stretch down where you're going to have to be playing on the road. But I guess the last question on this stretch is, this is the second to last home game for you guys, and two important ones, this one against Iowa, and then you'll play the Quad Cities in a few weeks. But what does it mean to finish off the season with these two home games before having to go on the road? And obviously the Blizzard home crowd at the Resch has been pretty loud and rowdy over the last couple of weeks. What has that environment been for you to start this season?
Yeah, by far it's the best environment I've been in this league. We owe it to the fans to win these games, and we owe it to ourselves as well. But the amount of fans and how loud it gets in the Resch is unbelievable. When it says "Get loud" on the jumbotron, I mean that does hurt my ears down on the bench or on the field. So I want to thank all of you guys that are in the Resch, and we got 2 home games left. Let's pack it again, and let's get these home wins, because it's home field advantage, and we really do need to win these games for just the sake of the team and for the community.
Absolutely. And the final question I always ask is, what's one thing that Blizzard fans might not know about you that you'd like to share? I think a few years ago we had a guy solve a Rubik's Cube, some guys like anime, stuff like that. What would you have to share?
You put me on the spot here. I'd probably say as a kid, I think I was in first grade, I had 2 ear surgeries. So that's the one that pops in my head right now. But yeah, I had double ear surgery. So
interesting. I'm trying to think what the other question I was going. Obviously, being a Wisconsin kid, but Southern Wisconsin, you're Packers, right?
Yeah. Packers, Brewers, Bucks. Yeah, you know the deal.
Yeah, I feel like we've had a few guys that are from Wisconsin, but they're Bears fans, and it's like we can't have that. We can't have that. So I'm glad we have a Wisconsin guy that is a Packers fan and is a Wisconsin sports guy. So, Max, really want to thank you for taking the time this week to sit down with us, and good luck this Saturday against Iowa.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joey. I hope to see you all at the Resch Saturday, 7 p.m. Go Blizz. Thank you.
Absolutely. Again, this week, Blizzard take on the Barnstormers with an opportunity to get back into the playoff picture and get back to 500 on the season. For Max Meylor, I'm Joey Bonadonna. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Talking Blizz. And as always, go Blizz.